States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Vaughn.
Yes.
Kurtz.
Yes.
Hayward.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Scharf.
Here.
O'Loughlin.
Yes.
Hannah.
Yes.
Thank you. I need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Scharf.
Second.
Second by O'Loughlin. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Nobody has signed in for public comment. So next is, I need to invite Doug Cook to come forward. Assuming I have to go out here.
Yeah, sure.
I have a certificate I'd like to give to you, Doug, for in recognition of your dedication to Independence Fire Department and invaluable services rendered to the community.
Thank you.
I'm not sure how many years.
42 and a half.
42 and a half.
That sounds way good.
where you're at.
That sounds perfect.
Back here with them. You have wide angle lenses. Oops, I want these off.
You're not that wide.
Got one
Give you
more.
a chance here,
You got
folks.
2 papers.
That's right.
Go.
Thank
Good one,
Thank you.
thanks.
Congratulations, Doug.
Bonnie, you're gonna be making 2 trips.
Well, I don't know that I have to make 2 trips, but I do want to call up Richard Newton. You come forward. We need to make an introduction of Richard. He is going to be the new fire chief effective today, right?
Well, yeah.
Okay. Does council have any questions or comments or anything they want to give?
Congratulations, Dick.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Congratulations to both.
Big shoes to fill, yep. And that's one of the things I want to thank Doug, and basically I hope the community thanks Doug for all of this time that he has put in towards, 42 years of his life dedicated to the community. So I want to thank him and hope that the community also thanks him for that. So
Yes, I think so too. Thank
Yep.
you very much. Welcome
you.
aboard.
thank you.
Thank you, guys. Great to see all that blue out there. You guys look good. Next on the agenda is a motion to accept and approve the consent agenda that approves the following: the minutes of the October 22nd, 2018 regular meeting, budgeted transfers for the month of October, Walmart Incorporated, Class B wine, Class C beer, Class E, and Sunday sales liquor license, December 1st, 2018 through November 30th, 2019, and a visual sewer sanitary sewer CIPP installation proposal.
So moved.
Motion by Hill,
Second.
second by Scharf. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Thank you. Next on the agenda is approval of claims.
So moved.
Motion by Hill,
Second.
second by Kurtz. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Next on our agenda is the airport board request. If you would like to come forward, Dan. Janet?
Hi, Council. How you guys doing?
Good.
We had a really good turnout on Saturday, just to follow up. It was fantastic considering the cold temperatures of the season. We had basically a full ramp and we were having to park down in the install area. So it's just kind of a sign that we are in a new era, and thanks to everyone's support. You know, it was a tough time. It's just really exciting to kind of start fresh, and we'll keep this momentum going. So thanks again for your support. Just wanted to share that good update with you. We can't come to you tonight just to see if you'd be interested. We'd like to recommend, we've talked a little bit about this in some of our discussions, the former apartment space that's in the terminal building, what we were thinking about doing with that. And we'd like to recommend to the council making that space a crew flight rest facility. So for the flight crew, it could be a rest facility for transient aircraft, folks that are coming through. It would be not an enclosed area like it is now. You know, we would basically take the door off to the entrance so people can't lock themselves in the room and make it a private area. It'd be more of a public space, but it would have an area for folks to rest, and that may be more attractive for larger jets, folks that are coming through the area that need to crash, or if there's inclement weather, et cetera, et cetera. It gives us those options. So we'd like to start with that request. And the other piece to the puzzle that we're considering, and we'd like some input on from you guys, is we were asked to consider some type of area of the airport to dedicate to Mr. Jim Connell. The board is in support of doing so, and we feel like that this area, particularly the upstairs area, may be a good place to do so. We feel like it could be an area that hopefully there's some historic pictures somewhere, or pictures from the past, a story that maybe we can get from the Connells about how they got things started, things that we can put in that room so that guests and folks that come through the area can actually kind of see how the airport started, look at some of the roots of the airport. It would be awesome if we can get some photos of back in the day on the airport, maybe with Jim working at the airport, et cetera. Hang those up, get nice photos, pictures that we can put on the wall, et cetera. So those are just a couple of things that the board has thought about, and we'd like to get some input and recommend it to you as an option for that space upstairs.
I think that's a great idea. What's the plan for the other part that used to be the pilot's lounge up there?
Yes, great question. Talking with PNN Flight Charter, they actually are thinking about making that more of a classroom environment area, possibly with a projector similar to the setup in here, and do a lot of basic for all their ground school activities. And my thought on that, and I'm open to thoughts, I think that's a good idea, a good use of that space. That's actually where I did my ground school, and it worked really well in that space. So I think that's kind of what the thought process was. So that would be more or less for PNN and class training activities, or if we have safety seminars, and we can invite other pilots to fly in. We've done that in the past in that space, and it's worked well for that.
So you would use it as a training area, but not specifically just PNN, that it'd be open to other people having training out there, or anything else that comes up, or?
I think, yeah, the way that we have it laid out, it could be universal in that way, particularly for FAA safety seminars. You know, that would be the big piece for that space.
Okay.
When you talk about taking that door down, you don't talk about taking any walls down, is that right?
No, not at this time, yeah.
I think it's a wonderful idea and a very nice tribute to Jimmy and Karen, who've put their heart and soul into that airport, you know, and I think the recognition would be really neat.
Any other comments?
Thank you for putting this together.
Yeah, thank you.
So if you guys are in favor of this, I would need a motion to approve that the former airport manager apartment is a flight crew rest facility named after Jim Connell.
And the actual naming that we came up with would be the Connell Flight Crew Rest Facility. And that's what it would be formally named.
Okay.
And it would be identified as such. We would put signage downstairs to direct folks so that they know to go upstairs for that, as well as on the door. It would be known that this is in honor of the Connells in that regard.
I'd make a motion.
Second.
Motion by Kurt, second by Scharf. Any other discussion? Do you need a roll call or anything on this?
I'll do a roll call.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
I'll do a roll call.
Well, you will do one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Sharp,
Yes.
O'Loughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Vaughn.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carried.
Thank you
Very
for the
good to go.
support.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is Sustainable Independence and Solar Group, so
Do you have handouts for me that I can use for, because they weren't attached, so they don't have copies. Okay.
I apologize, I was going to be here earlier, but our garage door broke and locked us both inside, so it took my husband 25 minutes to get it open, so I was going to have this set up, but.
are you doing better than Al? He was out of town and his car broke down. He still hasn't made it back to town yet, so.
Oh, bummer.
At least you're here.
Yeah.
Is that the city car that broke down or his car?
No, his own personal car. Susie suggested you just buy a new one and get home. I'm sure we'll hear the rest of the story when he arrives. When she gets set up, probably.
And then I don't know if you have it saved as, but. And your words right there.
Are you ready?
Okay,
I
yep.
want to turn some lights down, so there we go. You're on.
Okay. Good evening, everybody, and again, I apologize for being late. Thank you for allowing me to come and talk to you tonight. My name is Wendy Vandiwall, and I am from the nonprofit group Sustainable Independence. Our mission is to work on promoting renewable energy and educating people about climate change. I like to show you this slide because this tells you who I am and why I am here tonight. I am very concerned about the future of my two girls, and I'm going to tell you why tonight. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change just released a report in October that is very serious and one that we all need to pay attention to. First of all, I want to tell you that this report has 91 authors. They have cited over 6,000 references and had 42,000 expert and government review comments. This is by no means a conspiracy. You put that many scientists in a room together and they rarely agree on anything, right? But they do agree that humans are causing the earth to warm and that it's very urgent that we do something about it. One key message from this report is that we have already raised the average temperature of the earth by 1 degree, and we are already seeing the consequences of this warming. One example is all the extreme weather that we've been having. Did you know that climate change made Hurricane Florence 50% worse in terms of the amount of rainfall? Here in Iowa, we have also been seeing more floods and flash floods. I know this fall is still very fresh on your minds. 100 years ago, it was unheard of to get anything over 4 inches at a time. The other key message is that they have moved up the timeline for the occurrences of the most severe impacts. They are saying that severe ecological effects will be felt decades earlier than expected. If we continue on our current path, we will have raised the average temperature of the Earth by 1.5 degrees Celsius by the year 2040. 1.5 degrees Celsius will have much more severe consequences to the Earth's ecological systems than originally predicted. A 2-degree rise in the Earth's average temperature will have immensely catastrophic consequences. At 1.5 degrees, the report finds that 70 to 90% of coral reefs will vanish. At 2 degrees, that number jumps to more than 99%. At 1.5 degrees, the report predicts the Arctic Ocean will be completely free of sea ice once per century. At 2 degrees, it could be once per decade. If we hold warming to 1.5 degrees instead of 2, the report suggests global sea level rise could be 10 centimeters lower, which could potentially stop a disproportionately rapid evacuation of people from the tropics. Climate-related risks to health, livelihoods, food security, water supply, human security, and economic growth are projected to increase with a 1.5 degree rise and increase further with 2 degrees. In order to avoid catastrophic consequences, greenhouse gas emissions must be reduced 45% by 2030. Then they will need to be reduced 100% by 2050. In other words, we have 12 years to reduce our burning of coal, gas, and oil by 50%, and then another 20 years to completely stop. Now, how many of you are getting that sick feeling creeping into your stomach right now? Don't dismiss it. Don't dismiss it because it seems like too much to deal with. This is what I feel every day, but this is the feeling that drives you to take action. The good news is there's already movement all around the world and actions are already happening. The good news is that there is still time to take actions that will make a big difference. It is possible. There is hope. This is possible if everyone does their part. This is possible if city councils, school boards, county and state governments all pledge to do their part. This is possible if individuals, businesses, and nations pledge to do their part. I have a few pledge examples listed up there. The city of Dubuque has pledged to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions 50% by 2030. Des Moines and Iowa City have resolved to reduce emissions 28% by 2025. And there are many other cities and businesses around that are making similar pledges. If Mid-American gets approval and completes their next wind project by 2020, they will be producing 100% of their customers' annual usage of energy with clean energy. So I have listed a few possible action items for you guys to consider tonight. One of them is to invite the UNI students back to give recommendations on how to reduce emissions. The other one is to set a greenhouse gas emissions reduction goal. The city of Dubuque found it relatively easy to reach their first initial goals and set higher goals after a few years. I have come up with a sample plastic straw proclamation, which I'll have listed on another slide here in a minute. Another couple examples of things to do is to set up more EV car charging stations. We're going to talk probably in a couple minutes about the solar group buy, and to think about offering more recycling for people in the community. Just really quick, I wanted to let everybody know that Independence Light and Power has passed a new rebate for electric car chargers. Residents can get up to $250 rebate, and businesses can get up to $1,000 rebate on an electric car charger. Now we're going to talk about plastics. A couple of facts that I wanted to let you guys know. China I don't know if you've heard, has just now stopped taking our plastic and paper for recycling. We have no facilities to handle the huge volume that they were processing. Most of this is probably going to now end up in the landfills. 500 million straws are used each day in the United States alone. You can make disposable straws from paper, pasta, and plants. Other straws can be made from glass or metal. Examples of cities that are eliminating plastic straws or straws made from plastic are Seattle, Malibu, Miami, Fort Myers, among others. Walt Disney will eliminate plastic straws by next year. The EU has proposed a ban on actually all single-use plastics. Starbucks will phase out plastic straws by 2020. McDonald's will use paper straws in the UK and Ireland. So below is listed, I've just come up with the possible wording. You can word it however you'd like to. If you're interested in making a proclamation, City of Independence supports the reduction of the use of single-use plastic. To that end, we would like to encourage restaurants to adopt a policy of not automatically providing straws unless they are requested. We would also like to encourage businesses and restaurants to provide compostable or non-plastic straws. And I did come up with a letter that I sent, but it didn't get copies made because I sent to Al, so I will have a copy of a possible proposed letter for you guys to take a look at too. It would be great to maybe send to businesses and restaurants to sign a pledge to get them to support this proclamation as well. And we'll talk a few minutes about the solar group buy. And I just wanted to end with my favorite quote. The best way to predict the future is to invent it. I'll go back just to the list if we want to have any discussion, or thank you for allowing me to speak tonight.
Plastic bags would fit in there with that plastic straws too, wouldn't it?
Yes.
I'm surprised that they haven't eliminated those.
What is the solar group buy?
I didn't know where that status was. I thought Al had talked to maybe just committee members the other night about it. No? Okay.
He did bring it up in a committee meeting.
Okay.
But it hadn't been talked to the full council.
Okay. I thought maybe the committee meeting was like committee of the whole, but okay. So the solar group buy is done by a group called Midwestern Renewable Energy Association. They have done several of these around the Midwest. Most recently they did in Johnson County and Lynn County. And so what they want to do is get the public entities to support the group buy and promote it, and then they come out and do some education about solar and hopefully get a bunch of people together who are interested in buying solar, and they group that all together, and then that brings down the price of the solar. They get a discount by bringing those people together. So that's the purpose of getting everybody to promote it, to get everybody put together and bring the price of the solar panels down. MREA is taking applications until Friday to see what community they'd like to work with on that. So we were hoping to get approval from you guys to have the City of Independence support it. And we've also spoken with George Lake from Buchanan County Economic, and he's very interested in supporting it as well.
So if we support it, there'd be a solar farm set up around here and then?
No.
No, this would be all individually owned solar systems. This is not a solar garden. It's not a big array. It's all individual systems.
A lot of it's supposed to be like rooftop units and
Yes.
things like that people could put individually at their homes, supplement their energy needs.
One thing you can do with your electrical bill, you may have seen on there, is you can also purchase solar energy, you can put so much towards solar energy on your electrical bill, which helps the co-op that we buy, Independence Power and Light buys their electricity from. They are very big into renewable energy. In fact, I think a couple of years ago, they picked two communities. We were in the running, but
We were number 3, I think.
yeah, we didn't hear anything. They picked 2 Wisconsin, which I suspect because they have about 99% of their business in Wisconsin made a difference. But there is a way that you can be involved with purchasing some solar and helping developing solar through Independence Power and Light on your light bill. Are you finding that with the current administration that solar and wind power generation has slowed up?
It kind of goes back and forth. It's hard to say. I mean, it was already set in motion for some of the rebates to sort of gradually get lower over time anyway. But you know, they're lessening some of the environmental requirements, so it kind of ebbs and flows.
I think one of the tragic things is when you talk about renewable energy is it seems like just about the time we begin to think seriously about it, oil prices drop, coal prices drop. When we signed on with our current electrical provider, there was quite a push to limit coal-generated electrical production, and unfortunately, recession set in, electricity was cheap, and so we just need to keep our mind set that down the road we're going to need renewable energy. Just because gas is going to be $2 a gallon or $2.25 a gallon, we can't back off on the thought that 30, 40 years down the road we're going to need. Many of you that are my age might remember about 1973 when the oil embargo and everybody was backed up at gas stations trying to buy gas because it was being rationed, and I really hope we don't sit on our thumbs and wait for that kind of a situation to develop.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a close friend that used to be the head of the Wind Energy Association that was his lifelong career, was working with them. And wind energy is huge, and you can see it all over our state and many of the surrounding states too. And I understand Mid-American is doing another big wind farm plan. The individual solar energy thing, I think we need more information on, because I don't think the average homeowner has any clue on what the costs involved would be and what the payback would be and how many years it would take to get a payback on that. And I think more information is probably needed on something like that.
And that's what the MREA does. Really, all the city does is just sort of support this program. Once MRE agrees to work with us, they come out and have educational sessions. I think they call them solar power hours or something. And so they have many educational sessions around the communities for people to come out and learn about solar, learn all the ins and outs of it. And then they have the solar provider come and provide a technical person to ask questions. And so we get all that education through the MREA and stuff, so your questions get answered. And then the solar provider will come out and give the homeowners who are interested a quote, basically, and tells them, you know, how much it is and how much payback time they'll have and that type of thing. And the owner can still decide whether or not they want to go with it. So there isn't anything set in stone that anybody has to go with it. So the education is there and that sort of thing. So
I know one of the things we talked about, Doug's still here, we talked about when we did our building codes, the potential for putting in new construction, that it's automatically able to be hooked up to solar. Got some pushback from contractors that they thought that'd raise the price a few $100s on a house, but so we didn't do it. Again, cost was the overwhelming thing, but again, it would have been something the community could have done so that if someone decided to go with solar, their home would have been set up for it, as opposed to all the infrastructure they'd have to put in besides buying the panels.
The main thing for that is basically just a PVC pipe that gives you access to the roof. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
It's pretty small.
According to contractors, that would have raised the price beyond purchase.
What about storage? Is there a battery storage unit included in with this so it can be,
No,
it's strictly?
no batteries. This would be
usage?
connected to the grid.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Do the energy companies have to buy the excess that is produced, or?
So if you're with Independence, if you're hooked up to Independence Light and Power, yes, they have the, now that word's gonna fly out of my head.
Is it like power credits that they give to you?
They give you the, what's the word, you know what it is? They give you the retail price, basically, credit for it, versus the wholesale price, you know, that they pay. So, net metering, that's what it's called, net metering. So, yes, they basically give you, they don't give you any money, but they give you kind of a credit towards your bill. So it really, and really you don't want to size your array too big that you're putting too much excess energy out there anyway. So you want to size it small enough that you're not doing that very often at all.
Now, what happens, we were just talking about that a little bit earlier, the last 4 or 5 weeks, we haven't seen the sun but maybe 1 or 2 days. Is our part of the country with solar a realistic outlook?
Yes, it is very realistic. I believe Germany is further north than we are, and they are going great guns with solar. The solar providers generally factor in a number of days without sun or too cold in the winter or snow or whatever, factor that into their figures as to how much the solar array would produce. So there's data figured out for our latitude. So that's basically figured in to begin with. So
I think it's kind of neat. Most of you are probably aware the Buchanan County Conservation has cabins up at Fontana.
Oh, yeah.
And they are all solar. And talking with Dan, he said it's kind of a nice education because you learn to conserve energy. If you leave your lights on all day, you may be in the dark at night because you exceeded your production. So it does make you think it's a little different than just flipping on and off the switch.
So do they have power storage then?
They have power storage there.
they do.
So they have had people call and say, we need a flashlight.
It's kind of like Stone Age up there because it's very little electricity.
I can see where the solar panels would be a much more desirable thing for private citizens to have than the wind power. You hear about all the controversy over the one up in Fairbank where they have to take those down now, and the noise and everything, but being close to your home could be a real issue. Where solar panels, other than not real attractive, would be, you know, put them up on the roof and they're pretty much out of sight.
And you put them up and forget about them, and they just produce energy quietly. My folks actually live a mile from a very large wind turbine, and It doesn't bother anything at all. You can hear it at night in the house if there's nothing else running, if the furnace isn't running, but it's not loud at all. You'd have to know that's what it was in order to know that's what it is. It's just like a motor running somewhere off in the distance or something. It's not any louder than a corn dryer, or corn dryer's a lot louder. But it doesn't bother at all.
I think the biggest problem with wind generation, in Independence, we did adopt the county wind turbine code, is the shadow factor, that you can create practically darkness on somebody's property with the wind turbine. So that really becomes the thing that overwhelms people, is the shadow factor from the turbines. You wouldn't think so when you look at them from a distance, and they don't spin like an electric fan, but they do create a lot of shadow.
So like I said, the MREA application is due on Friday. It would be great if we could put in an application to go with these guys. It doesn't really commit the city to much besides supporting it and spending a little bit of time, working on promoting it, which I am very willing to work on a lot of that for you guys. So
would they be sending notices out and using the city's sponsorship of it, kind of like what we did with the offering of the, the sewer insurance programs or something like that? How would they be notified?
I'm not familiar with that program.
Or the service line
Yeah.
warranty type of thing?
I guess they use our letterhead, they send out information to citizens using our letterhead.
Probably, yeah.
Now we're getting ready to move into budget time, so this is not a time where we're in a position to commit resources?
I don't anticipate that you need to. Really, it's only, on the application, it just asks for some employees' time, but, Al is already working with Sustainable Independence and stuff on energy efficiency issues. I don't foresee it taking any more time than that, and like I said, I'm willing to do a lot of that time, so I don't foresee that it's not going to cost you anything as far as I can see.
Is it more that we would support it in that way, support it in having availability for education for the community, making things available for people to learn more about it?
Yeah.
Things to that degree?
Yep. It's just, meet at the library. The library is a meeting room, which we could do anyway. Meeting facilities, places for people to come and have the education. Just, promotional materials, which I'm very happy to help work on, type thing. And
what other communities are using this program or using its services?
Johnson County and Lynn County. Lynn County.
Success.
Yeah, Lynn County. They managed to bring their discount down to 20% off of the cost. So, yes, it went over very well there.
I think it's something that it'd be great to offer the citizens. And there's going to be some people that might be really interested in it, and others may not be.
And like you say, even if they get the education and they get the offer, they still can turn it down. It's
Yes.
not like you're required
Nope.
to pay into it or
Nope.
anything to that degree. So
Nope.
making a motion to support this does not obligate us to any money, and just and making things available for education and
Yes.
things for the community or the people.
Yes.
Okay.
I'd make a motion that we go with supporting MREA as we have other organizations.
Okay.
I'd second it.
Have a motion by O'Laughlin and a second by Hill to support Sustainable Independence request.
Is there
So
any company that can put these up then?
So we'll have like a task force that will put out a request for bids, and then we'll choose a solar provider from those bids. So we'll have say in who the solar provider is.
Not
Who would be on
property
this task force?
Pardon?
Who would be a part of this task force?
Representative from the city, me, George Lake.
Individuals, citizens that want to be
probably,
part of it
sure.
and
Yes.
involved in it?
Can I make a clarification here? I don't want to get anyone calling me like they do on the sidewalks. If I have a brother-in-law that sells solar panels cheap, I can still buy my solar panel from my brother-in-law?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make.
You won't want to, but yes. You don't want the
Well,
big box
we
stores.
went into this with the
Solar
sidewalk.
panels.
We said, we have somebody that can work on your sidewalk, but if you have someone else, and for some reason that got distorted, that you had to use,
No.
so, okay, just wanted to clarify that.
Okay, if we have no other discussion, we do have a motion and a second on the floor, and I would request a roll call, please.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Sharp,
Yes.
O'Loughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Kurtz.
Yes.
Motion is carried.
We have to
You have some kind of form that we need to sign that we're, for this application, or what is your next step?
Well, I'll probably just work with Al on filling it out
Okay.
and sending it in.
Okay.
I mean, we've already, Al and George and I met and we've looked at it and stuff, so we can probably just talk with him and get it going.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Motion is
We're
carried.
hoping he'll be back by Friday. He's down there eating barbecue in Kansas City.
He's supposed to be back
so-
by midnight tonight, supposedly, we don't know.
As long as he can answer his email, we could probably get it accomplished, but.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you for coming tonight.
Yep.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
that.
Interested in making a plastic straw proclamation at all?
Yes,
You know, we used to just only have paper straws. I
Yep.
remember those days.
I think that would be something we should talk about at our workshop.
Yep.
Okay, and I can have that letter for you to, and to look at and stuff.
Yeah, if
but-
you give us more information on it, so
Okay.
that'd be great.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
How do we do that, though? We go out to the businesses, they can no longer have the plastic straws and.
Nope. What I'm suggesting is just a proclamation supporting this. I'm not suggesting that we put a ban on it at all. Some communities are. If you want to, you can, but I'm not suggesting that to begin with. I want to start the conversation. Hey, let's think about this. Do we really need to use this plastic straw in this situation? Can we use an alternative? It's just suggestions to get people to start thinking about it and sign a pledge and say, hey, we're going to join you in working on this.
Makes
I
you
think
wonder
a
how
lot of-
committed that McDonald's is when they're only doing it in 2 countries, and the United States isn't one of them.
Yeah, that's amazing. So,
I think the bigger organizations will begin to be more green conscious as time goes on.
hope so. They need to do it sooner than later, because
Yep.
things are changing already.
Yep, they are.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next on our agenda is a motion to approve the Independence Chamber of Commerce 2018 Jingle on Main, November 30th, 2018, from 5 to 8 p.m., and to waive ordinances with City Independence Code as follows. Chapter 40, Public Peace Section 40.03 to parentheses, noise to allow noise up to 8 p.m. on November 30th, 2018. That should be, instead of 17?
Yep.
Right. Okay.
Sorry.
Chapter 69, Parking Regulations, Section 69.06, Parking Prohibited, and Section 69.08, Parking Zones for Closing and Restricted Traffic, and No Parking Zones. Chapter 122, Peddler, Solicitor, and Transient Merchant, Section 122.04, Application Fee Section 122.05, License Fee Section 122.06, bond required with assigned liability waiver, Section 122.10, time restrictions to 8 p.m. In the application, you had it closing some streets from, was it noon or something, and I believe that.
One block begins at noon, the rest of the area is at 2 p.m.
But I think, I
can
saw
address
something
this,
that,
Mayor, the Public Safety Committee did meet today, and
okay,
we felt that we can recommend 1 to 2, but noon to 2, there's a lot of lunch hour traffic, and it creates congestion downtown, so we would recommend that we change that from 1 to 2 instead of noon to 2.
it's actually noon to 10. So you're talking about changing that from 1 to 10. The rest of them are
No.
2 to
We
10.
are just, there's within the request,
Right.
they would like to close First Street East from noon to 2 to set up a band. They want to set it up early. We are saying that we don't feel it is good for the downtown traffic patterns to close it from noon to 2 ahead of the rest of the undertaking, but we would recommend we close it early from 1, starting at 1 o'clock to set up the stage and the band and those things.
The reason we initially requested the 12 noon time is that this is the first year we're using a portable stage. We haven't used the equipment before. We want there to be adequate time to make sure that we get it into space, that it's set up appropriately to hold people, and then to have the AV people come in and set up their lights and sound and not be rushed.
Okay, but you're not actually, the event itself doesn't start until 5, correct?
There's a lot of things they'll need to
Right.
be setting up this year.
Okay, but that's the one thing that even the police department, I think, requested that First Street East, beginning point 2nd Avenue Northeast, ending point 3rd Avenue Northeast, to start that at 1 o'clock rather than noon. Otherwise, I think.
There's only one block where we've asked for the noon, and that's the First Street East between Hardig and the Bank Corners. All the other blocks in the downtown that we use for Jingle on Main, we're requesting a later time to close those off.
You're looking at those from 2. And they're all, you're ending those at 10 so that you have shutdown time or tear down
Correct,
time
because
after the
we have to have
event is at
appropriate
8.
tear down
You
time
have 2 hours for tear down.
without dodging in between cars.
Okay, okay. Dustin, do you want to address this at all? And so the committee is suggesting that we make that 1 o'clock?
Yeah, we agree with everything else, it's just changing that from noon till 1 o'clock.
So,
But still, they would get passed on 150 to be able to go that way, and then they go to Harding Drug and turn to the west.
They could,
That one block you're saying that,
After school is gonna be the worst time then over the.
There's no
last-
school that
there's no
day.
school that day. Yeah,
Great, that helps.
yeah.
I'm looking at the application here, and it says 2nd Avenue Southwest.
Oh, it's north.
I think it should be.
It's the first one, the
That'd
first one
be-
on this application, it's First Street East is what they want closed between 2nd Avenue Northeast and 3rd Avenue Northeast.
And then the next one is, right below that, is 2nd Avenue Southwest to 2nd Avenue Northeast.
that's from Chatham to the stoplight at the mill.
That's for carriage rides, I believe, wasn't
It's
it?
for the carriage rides.
And with no school, that was last year, the only problem were buses, but this year we don't have.
Well, because that's closing off the bridge.
Correct.
Right, yeah. That's why it's 2nd Avenue Southwest, because it's closing off the bridge for the carriage rides.
2nd Avenue to Southwest is between Bill's.
Is the street at Bill's.
Yeah,
Going south.
yeah.
Yeah, and there's no school buses that need to turn there this year.
And that's the carriage rides, and they're closing that off from 2 to 10, again, to get set up and shut down.
Main Street Bridge.
Yeah.
That's just our recommendation. If there's other council members that want to go another direction, that's. we're just
I don't see a problem having that block closed off at noon, because you can still get both ways.
Dustin, you got any comments on it?
And you can get the cars out of there from being parked there. Could be an issue.
Our concern with noon is it's lunchtime. People go home for lunch. If they go home early and they don't realize that it shuts down and now they have to find another way around, now they're trying to rush to get back to work. it's right through that traffic area of traveling back and forth for lunch. So if you move it to 1, everybody that goes to lunch at that time should be back to work and shouldn't have any issues with them. So we don't have school that day, which is great, but I mean, don't have to worry about the buses, but yeah, just that lunch hour there, we're concerned about, so.
So having the bridge closed all day is not a problem?
Well, having the bridge closed, we closed it last year for this event, but we closed it after school. If we had school this day, we'd ask the same, not close it down until after school was over with. But on this day, we don't have school, so having that shut down, I don't see that being an issue, being, okay, you're gonna be out of work, you're gonna have to go.
An 8-hour period, that's.
Right.
That was my concern.
Yeah, it's gonna be a long time, but we shut it down the last couple of years and it's worked out. So, we're just concerned about the people that are trying to travel around that noon hour.
It's just going around the block one way or the other, though.
Depends on where you're
How
headed.
about,
yes.
how about the restaurants on that, in that block though, too, for their businesses and stuff if it's shut down? There's at least one restaurant there that's,
Good. I mean, no
they have parking in the back.
matter what time we shut it down, we're gonna have issues. Because if we shut it down at 1, people that want to eat in the afternoon are still gonna have to find another way around because the road will be completely shut down by then. So, but I just think of the people that are traveling from work to home and back from home to work or wherever they're going. If they don't realize it's being shut down and all of a sudden they have to reroute themselves, now they're in a rush to get there, it might be late for work, it might be an issue that we have. I'd rather just avoid the lunch hour to start with.
We've done it every year for how many years now? We've done the Jingle All Main for how many years now?
This will be the 3rd, but it's never been this early.
Well, we don't have a motion made yet, and so whoever wants to make this a motion in approving this event can make it in whatever manner they want, so. Do I hear a motion at all?
I'll make the motion to shut that road down at noon like they've requested, and just that one block and the rest of it the way they've got it in writing.
I'll second.
So you're making a motion to approve their request as submitted with that,
Yes.
you know? Say I have a motion from Deb and a second by Mike Hayward to approve the request as presented, including the noon to 10 on that one block area. Any other discussion? We need a roll call for this? Okay.
Hill,
Yes.
Scharf,
Yes.
O'Loughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Hayward.
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Thank
You got
you.
your noon.
One thing I would say, in talking with Captain Brinkema and Chief Dallenbach, everything went really smooth, but I think one of the things that brought up a question on this was they didn't know before just recently about the 10 to noon pre-closing and what was going to be done. And again, I think communication's getting a lot better, but
Yeah, we put everything in the application and we submitted that. The application says 30 days in advance and we submitted it 38 days in advance. So everything was in the application what we were asking for.
okay, thank you.
Okay, next is urban renewal, resolution, motion to approve a resolution setting the date for public hearing on designation of 2018 Park Meadow Urban Renewal Area and on urban renewal plan and project.
So moved.
Is this setting the date for the next meeting at 6:30?
Yeah.
Okay,
I
motion
thought
by,
it said December 10th.
Well,
it's not the next.
yeah, December 10th. You're correct.
Okay, because it's not written in the motion.
It's in your documents.
Okay. Motion from Hill, seconded by
Second.
Scharf. You need a roll call on this
Yes,
also?
please.
Okay.
Scharf,
Yes.
O'Loughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Thank you, motion is carried. Next on the agenda is for our handicapped parking. We have one handicap parking in front of City Hall right now, if we ever get our steps finished and such. And we're wanting to move that to the two places that are available east of City Hall here and make both of those handicapped accessible, so we need to change that, include that in our ordinance recodification.
Dustin's we got a little addition, couple of changes that as a committee talked today, we thought might make it smoother on this whole thing.
In our Public Safety Committee, we brought the handicap parking question up, and we had a couple different ideas with it. Since our ramp, yes, is gonna be on the side of the building, move our handicap stalls over there and have two of them over there is a great idea. But eliminating the one from First Street eliminates it from the businesses that are in that area to be able to actually access that easily. So we don't want to eliminate the one that's on First Street. We'd rather actually like to move it down towards Del Rio's and put it in front of Del Rio's, somewhere in that area. So on the map that I handed out, the blue spots would be the handicap, roughly where the handicap stalls would be at. And then the red one is where it is currently, roughly. I didn't draw it with a ruler, it's just kind of a sketch I did. So, like I said, moving the red one to down the road, then adding the two to the side of the building. We also talked about that where the red one is currently located, being that that's the front of the building and people are here to do business and so forth, limit that to 30-minute parking. So if somebody comes to do something at City Hall, they got 30 minutes, they can come in, get something done, they can get moving on to let somebody else be able to use that spot to come in and do their business here at City Hall.
All three of the spots, 30-minute?
No, just the red one. The handicap ones wouldn't be limited to that.
Okay, so the one that currently is handicapped that's out front, north of the building, you
that's
want to change that to a regular parking, but limit it to 30 minutes?
Correct.
And you want to move that handicap parking down in front of Del Rio's?
Yep.
And then so we're adding three new handicap parking spots. One will be in front of Del Rio's, two will be out here, and we'll eliminate that one and make it a regular parking area.
So you're only adding two.
Right.
Can we make the 30-minute one, 30-minute parking between 8 and 4:30? Because otherwise, we're kind of
Yep.
Yeah,
zipping
yeah,
Del
you would
Rio.
have to limit that.
We could do that.
And we had discussed that would just be during City Hall business hours.
Yep.
Plus, they are actually, if you see the car in the picture, there on the corner, that parking space is going to be, I believe that's the one that's going to be eliminated?
Correct. The one where the car.
There's actually two that are going to be eliminated.
Okay.
But yeah, where the car is in the parking lot next to City Hall, that one would be gone as well.
And possibly the second one also.
Yep.
Okay.
So we figured this way, with having it limited for time, people can get in and out and then not hold up for somebody else. And then also keeping the handicap spot on First Street for the businesses on First Street there, as well as having a couple for City Hall where the ramp will end.
And there was discussion, the Fourth Avenue Southeast on the east side of the street there, that is no parking up past I believe, the old American Legion.
Correct. That whole side now is a driveway for the
Yeah, and the
laundromat.
reason for that is because the fire trucks are getting bigger, and for them to swing out, they can't have cars. So I know there may have been some people not happy that the parking has been eliminated across from the fire station truck openings, doors, but that's why they just can't make that swing coming out of there.
Okay, we didn't really have a motion made, did we? So, do you know how you want to?
Yeah, I would say.
Who's making this morning and
Yeah,
motion,
I'll
and how do
use
you want?
this for the ordinance.
Okay.
I think Dustin went to architectural school here, engineering.
He has another career choice here, nothing else. Okay, do we know, so you want to read what the motion's going to be?
I would say it'd be something like motion to approve moving handicapped parking stall into 3 places, 1 north of City Hall and 2 east of City Hall, with the addition of 30-minute regular parking in front of City Hall in the current handicap position.
And that would be limited from 8 till 4:30.
8 to 4:30, yeah.
Actually, Monday through Friday, too.
Monday through Friday, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
So you'll have one in front of Del Rio's?
Yeah.
and the other one.
That'll be the one to the north. of
Did
City
we
Hall.
have a motion, a second on this?
The one thing we did, that there will be steps on the west side of the new entrance too, so when you get out of your car, you don't have to go clear around to the ramp to get up. There will be steps on the Del Rio side of it.
Right. It'll be fantastic if we ever get it finished.
Do we get a motion?
I'll
do that.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, so the motion is passed by Mike Hayward, seconded by Kurtz. Any other discussion? Everybody knows what we're voting on? And a roll call.
O'Loughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Kurt,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, motion is carried. How many of you guys have handicap parking stickers? So I guess I'll still have a spot because you guys can't take my spots over here anymore if you don't have one. Yes.
That's the
Okay,
issue I've heard about how many hours you would take that during the day and the public wouldn't be able to use it.
do what?
I have heard that. The public has said to me, how many hours will you be there in that spot a day when somebody else might want to come in and use it? That's why I asked if there'd be a time limit on that.
That's why we
At least
put
one of
two
them or
spots.
something.
That's why we thought.
Yeah, there's two
need
spots, but they're both
spots.
handicapped, so unless they have a handicap sticker, they wouldn't be able to park there anyhow, so. Okay, next on the agenda is a motion to approve the federal aid agreement for First Street West Trail Project.
This is for the First Street West. What easement are we, is this the agreement for the company to get the easements, or, so I didn't have anything showing up here.
Mine's not.
Mine's not showing up either.
The federal aid.
I don't have that attachment on mine.
I did a second ago, but just lost it.
God, it looks like the internet's frozen.
What?
It looks like the internet's frozen.
Oh, there it is.
This is on the trail for First Street West.
No. Let's skip down to the
The federal agreement to give the monies through Intercog that we had applied for and they'd approved.
I'm not sure this is outside of.
Do we know which properties we're getting the easements on?
I didn't know we'd
This
officially
isn't,
decided
I
where
don't
we were
think this
going
is
with it.
easements. This is approving the federal aid agreement, which is the agreement we have with Intercog to help pay for the trail on the west side of town by the school, from 15th Avenue down to 10th, and then it turns and goes down Second.
I think this was the modification, because originally we're gonna
Right.
go all the way to, what, 18th or 20th or whatever it was, and this is the one where we're gonna stop at 15th.
And they did take this, I know Mr. Crawford and Al both went to Intercog, and they did approve the shortening distance of this project, but they did not cut the amount, so we still get the same amount. And they've approved it, but we now have to approve going into this agreement with the federal government in order to get these dollars. These are federal dollars that we're getting.
Sure wish I could see it.
I had it earlier, I don't know
Find
where
out
it
and
went
vote
to,
for it.
but it's froze up or did something. But that's what it's for. It's for the West Trail that we've been talking about for probably 2-3 years and finally
Carl's got it.
have come to.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I pulled it up on my phone and it's opening up, but when you guys click on it, none of the attachments on your guys' thing are showing.
Carl, we're gonna put this all on your shoulder.
Here it is.
Yay.
Now I've got it. It did come
I
back.
think it was an internet issue,
There's that
to be
145,000 listed right there.
Because I turned off the Wi-Fi
That's
and
what
pulled it
we're
up on my
eligible
phone.
for?
Mm-hmm.
Wonder what the total cost, projected cost is.
I don't think it shows a cost on that, does it?
No.
But I read it earlier.
Yeah, it just says, the we'd be responsible for the development and completion of the following described projects. It says First Street West Trail, 15th Avenue Northwest, east to 10th Avenue Northwest, then south to 2nd Street Southwest.
This is our agreement in order to be able to give the funds that were approved, that we went and asked them to modify. They did not cut the funds, the dollar amount, but did approve us to give this. But if we don't have this agreement with the federal aid agreement, then we don't get the Iowa TAP money to pay for it.
I would make a motion to approve it.
Okay, thank you. Motion by Kurt, seconded by
I'll second it.
Hill. And we need a roll call.
Hannah,
I would like to see it first, but
It should be back up on it because it's back on my computer or my,
I don't mind.
Go look at Carl's.
You got yours up, Carl?
Yeah. I don't see the total cost of the project as you're asking, but the 145,000 that we were allotted before, that's what's in there
yeah.
from the Northeast Iowa, the intercog.
I think we're just agreeing that.
We
to
accept that because they cut the
Right.
project and we got okayed for the dollars to get our reduction of the project. Am I correct on that?
Yes, the project changed when we shortened the distance or the number of blocks it was going, so we need to reapprove this agreement in order to accept those funds and our responsibility for it.
No. Nope.
Doug, you gotta quit playing games on our computer system back there, so it's not so slow.
someone's bogging down the Wi-Fi.
Iowa Department of Transportation Federal Aid Agreement for Iowa's Transportation Alternative Program, Iowa TAP project.
We got it come up finally. Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Scharf,
Yes.
O'Loughlin.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is carried. Next on the agenda is First Street East Construction Survey and Staking.
Dan's here.
Before I talk about that, I just want to comment on the moves spaces for the parking. If somebody, when those are finalized, could send that to us so we can get those in our plan. Because we'll have whatever signage or whatever needs to be added, we'll need to make sure we get that incorporated into the plans.
Oh, okay.
Final plans are going out Tuesday. We got a little wiggle room there that we could get it in if we get something after that.
There's our official diagram.
It's really scientific.
What, do we
scale.
know what that sign's gonna say for the limited 50 minutes or
Well, he doesn't
30
need, I
minutes
think he
for-
just needs to know where we'd be placing.
Well, I need to know it, but if you want the signs installed and paid for during the construction, as part of the construction, we would need to include those in our plans. We would need to include the dimensions and location of those signs.
Okay.
I'm assuming they'll be signed, so they'll be anchored to the concrete that's out there.
While we got you standing there, we did have another question come up at our safety committee meeting, public safety meeting. When we were talking about these parking spaces up here by City Hall, we kind of all had different recollections on what we were gonna do down on the, in front of Security Bank. Right now, people think there's 2 lanes of traffic there.
turning
the
lane?
Inside turning south lane and the regular straight going ahead lane. And we couldn't remember, we talked about that. Right now, it's kind of an accident waiting to happen because most people stay in the straight lane and turn right. There's always the few cars that decide to sneak in there and go right up next to the curb by security and take a right going south on 150.
Which it's actually a handicap parking spot, but if nobody's parked there, people use it to make a right turn.
But they got the yellow lines there, but it's hard to see.
Yeah.
But what happens is, the semi's gonna come and he's just gonna crunch that car, is what's gonna happen. It probably has happened, I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well, and I think, Dustin, you thought that maybe we were doing a little bit of a bump out there, but no, none of us could really remember.
We're not changing the geometry there, or anything like that of the roadway because we're trying to match the existing curb and gutter. With the width we have there, because we have those parking lanes, I mean, it makes it difficult. People, and I'm sure you see it all over, whenever you have that wide of a lane, people are gonna wanna use it as a turn lane, which makes it difficult to eliminate that. We really weren't planning on changing that up much, from what we had there now. We could try to look at, improving the paint there, we're gonna freshen up the paint that's there, and that'll help, when the paint's new, and it would just be more of a maintenance thing to upkeep that paint, when it starts wearing.
Is there any signage or anything that might help to? Is that, I mean.
I could look into signage, but there's really not a signage that says,
What if
not a
we-
turn lane.
What if we would eliminate one parking spot, move that handicap parking back another spot, and make that a right turn lane?
I guess that's.
We've got one right there on Second Avenue.
I don't know, we'd have to look at the width-wise there. I don't know if width-wise we could officially call it a turn lane, if it would actually be wide enough. That would be the issue there.
Well, we don't paint it until after we're all done.
Well,
All right,
I,
we've got the
you
one on
need-
Second
but-
Avenue turning onto First Street West. That
yeah,
is very similar to that,
yeah,
and
down there by Bill's.
But don't
No.
you need that in your plans that we're approving tonight?
already
If
drugged.
they're gonna change something there?
You're not approving the plans tonight, no. I mean, we're submitting plans to the Iowa DOT for their review on Tuesday.
Okay.
Now, before it actually goes out for bids, there is some leeway between when the DOT reviews it and final plans. So if something was decided like that after Tuesday, we should be able to get it into the plans without having to do a change order or anything like that during construction. But there is some work involved in that because you have to have the right length of turn lane. We'd have to look to see, you might be looking at eliminating more than, one or two parking spots to meet, requirements for a
Well,
turn.
now's the time to look at it, because I know Captain Brinkema said he's had some problems enforcing tickets in the court system when he's ticketed people for making a right-hand turn out of that parking. And the judge has said, well, it's a deceptive intersection.
But isn't there a handicap parking sign there where people know it's not a turning lane, that if there's a parking
It
spot?
should be signed, and I'd have to
Yeah.
look
In
at
front
the
of
plans,
that
but I'm pretty
parking
sure.
spot, that handicap spot is still turned though.
Pretty signed. The problem with looking at a turn lane in there is when you're looking at turn lanes, you gotta think of semis and things like that. So you're talking about, quite a bit of depth there for your turn lane, which then you're eliminating, so much parking. And those parking lanes they're not full with driving lanes currently, the parking lanes, because they're for parking up against the
I don't
curb,
think
so.
anybody parks up there because they're afraid of getting hit by
I
somebody
do.
who's gonna turn
I
right.
do if I'm going to Security Bank. I deliberately park there so people won't turn that corner.
I can
Because
look
it is
into
fun.
it and stuff, but I think it's
I
gonna
don't
be
think
hard to
it's
try to
wide
put a
enough.
turn lane in there, just because I don't believe that, without
not
looking
wide
back at
enough
it, that
to
we have the width to do that.
Without spending a lot of time, the committee thought it'd be good to do it now as to wait. So many of our projects, 5 years from now, we
We couldn't
go,
remember if there's a bump out or not.
No, the bump outs were not chosen. Those, we were told to not go with the bump outs, just for the traffic flow, in that area.
That's a good idea, where it enters 150.
Yeah.
But
sorry, I
that,
mean.
but that is
That's fine.
tight. I don't think you can make an official turning lane there, because I don't think it's wide enough to.
I don't think, without looking at it and verifying that, but I'm pretty sure that, because I know that the parking lanes aren't full width, they're not 11-foot lanes. I think the parking is 6.5 plus 2.5, they're about 9 feet, I think, total from back of curb. So trying to get a turning lane in there would be difficult. We'd have to look at shifting of, the center line and things like that.
we already have the turning lane going north. You know,
Yeah, we do have.
we've already put the turning lane in to go north there at Iowa Bank. So we've already got three, we technically have 3 lanes there already. So
The third one is not wide enough to be a technical turning lane. I still don't think that, I agree with you.
But I'd have to look at that. I don't know if there's parking on the other side where that turning lane or how far that's, I'd have to look at it. I don't have the plan in front of me. I can't give you a
let's
permanent
have the
answer, but.
engineer do the study on it.
Just
But we
make it-
can
Make a
look at
note
that.
to look at that corner.
Yeah.
Slow this project down.
Yeah, we can look at that. I'm not gonna say that if it is possible, that we'll be able to have it in the plans by Tuesday.
No, just
Because there
forward
would be a little bit of work, to that, but, you know, it should be something that if possible, we could get into the plans before construction and before it goes out to bid.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so, but this is for a motion to approve AECom's contract for First Street East construction survey and staking is what you're requesting tonight. And you need that, so you have it for Friday.
So this would be, part of the plan. This would be a construction item, so this will come out of the construction fund, for the project. We like to, if possible, and a lot of times we bid that in originally, but to do our own staking, and construction survey for the project. Some of the benefits you can see it listed, but we're already doing the, construction review. So our surveyors will be coordinating directly with our construction review inspector that is out on site, so he can get the surveyors out there when they need it. We got more efficiency to get them out there. And if there are unforeseen circumstances, something we uncover under the ground, we're familiar with the design. Our surveyors are familiar with the project as well. We can usually facilitate a change in the plan faster to do that. We put together an estimate, and you know, we would like to do the survey for this project. It is something that can be bid with the project, but then you don't know what you're getting. The reasoning this project is so difficult, I guess, as far as staking and survey and plan interpretation with the handicap ramp or the ADA ramps. I don't know if people have seen those built. Typically, they come in and they build a square with nothing around it. That, you know, there's multiple pours that go into one of those ADA ramps. So the surveyors have to come out and stake each little point on that. And just the familiarity with the plans usually facilitates that to be a lot quicker.
I would make a motion that we have them do it.
I'd second that.
Yes.
Okay, motion by Kurt, second by McLaughlin to approve their contract. We need a roll call.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Scharf,
Yes.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Hannah.
Yes.
Okay, motion is carried. Next is in regards to the easements, First Street East.
This is for the easements that we went out with early on in the project at the Fifth Street intersection for Quick Star and then the southeast and southwest corners of where Dunlop is. We knew early on that we needed some temporary easements in there to get the ADA requirements for the sidewalk. So this is just, we've got that back. The property owners have responded and said, yes, we're okay with the temporary easements. All this is approving the city to sign and send out the, it's a minimum, it rounds up to the minimum for each parcel, which is $100 per parcel, which is what the city will pay for that easement. So it'll be $300 total, and this is just, I have the easements, I can drop them off, and the city can sign them and send them out with the check to the property owners.
I'd make a motion, we approve that.
Okay, motion by Kurt, second by Hayward to approve the construction easements. A roll call, please.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Scharf,
Yes.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Hannah.
Yes.
Motion carried. Good to go.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Now we're down to possible closed session per Iowa code.
I guess I'm a little uncomfortable doing closed session without Al here because he's done some discussions with other property owners, so I would just as soon move this to the next meeting when he's here.
I did get an update from Al this afternoon. He called me and briefed me on the closed session. If you guys feel the need to continue on with it, I am prepared with some of the information that he wanted to present with you, but that's your guys' option.
Was any of those a time limit?
He didn't tell me if there was a time limit or not.
Okay. That's up to you guys, whether you want to even consider doing this, going in, or?
I say we go into the closed session and discuss it, and if Gina doesn't have all the information we need, then we can come out of closed session and adjourn.
My points are brief. I promise you that.
I agree with John.
So my first thing is I need to verify with Steve to the ability to legally enter into a closed session for this regard.
Yes, similar to the previous set of closed sessions in this series of discussions.
Okay? Then I need a motion to enter into closed session per Iowa Code 21.51 parentheses I, parentheses, to discuss the purchase of particular real estate.
So moved.
Motion by Kurt.
Second.
Second by McLaughlin. All those, oh no, you need a roll call for this?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Scharf,
Yes.
O'Loughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Kurtz.
Yes.
Motion carried, so we are in closed session
You want me to leave?
as soon as we are prepared.
Want me to leave?
Do you need those things
These are
signed?
yeah.